Hey guys, I'm the NFL Addict, and welcome back to way too early NFL record predictions. Now, these are way too early because we still got about half of free agency left. We still got the draft left. We still got a little bit of free agency even after the draft, and this is without the schedule being released. I understand that we do know all of the opponents that the teams are gonna be playing, but it would just be way too complicated. And I feel like I would have if the Dolphins are playing the Texans, I could have the Dolphins win it when I'm talking about the Dolphins, and I could have the Texans win it. It's just I'd rather wait until after the schedule is released, and the website I use has got it all updated. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna have the Dolphins at 9-7. A little worse than they did last year, and this is mainly because they did lose Ryan Fitzpatrick. And you look at a lot of the games that they won, especially towards the end of the season. And obviously he did win them 3 games when he was the starter, but all that had to do with Ryan Fitzpatrick coming in at the end of the game and winning it. Now, obviously, Tua Tagovailoa, he didn't play very much last year. He hasn't had very much of a chance. He is still basically a rookie at this point. They did add a Will Fuller, though. It was a really good addition, help out that offense. I think 9-7 is a reasonable goal. Obviously, could be a little more, a little less. But yeah, next up, we have the Patriots. This is a team that I feel like will be much, much improved. Now, the record may not show it, only 2 more wins. But I think the fact they ramped up that tight end room, and then they re-signed Cam for another year. I think that's a pretty good move because he wasn't horrendous. I know a lot of people want to act like he had a horrible, disgusting year last year, but it really wasn't that bad. I feel like they can bump up to 9-7, maybe sneak into the playoffs, but we'll have to see. The Bills 13-3. Again, this is a team that hasn't done much, but when you see a team that's this good, normally they don't do too much. They had a really good season last year, and I feel like this next season is going to be basically a season for them to build upon that and possibly become a Super Bowl contender, even more than they already are. So, looking forward to see what they can do this season. The Jets haven't done too much. Haven't done too much crazy stuff. I think they got Corey Davis, wide receiver, for Sam Darnold. If they do keep Sam Darnold on there, then there is a lot of talk about them trading him, or I don't know what they could. They could either keep him, trade him, do whatever the heck they want. But I have a feeling that something's going to happen with Sam Darnold. But as of right now, he's on their team, and I feel like 4-12 is the way to go. Because last year they were horrendous. Haven't done too much to change that as of yet. Wow. Next up, we have the Colts. I think they'll drop back to 8-8. Carson Wentz, in my opinion, I think he had a couple good years at the beginning of his career, got injured, and hasn't been the same since. It's the same old story, but people still try to say, oh well, he had a bad team around him. When Jalen Hurts went in that first game, we saw what could happen if that Eagles team had a really good quarterback. Now, Jalen Hurts wasn't really good, and we saw that in his other games, but that first game was a really good performance from Jalen Hurts, and they played really well, and they beat the Saints in a pretty good game. And I feel like Carson Wentz is just a pretty bad quarterback, and the Colts do have a lot of weapons, but in my opinion, I think that he's only a slight step above, Jacoby Brissett. So I think 8-8. I doubt they make the playoffs, and I feel like Carson Wentz is on his way to being a career backup, a pretty good backup. He'd be a pretty formidable backup, and I definitely think that he will still be in the league. But a starter, no. Sorry if I'm going to start trying to speed this up because I don't want this to be like a 40-minute long video. We had the Jaguars 2-14. Now again, this is before the draft. They don't have Trevor Lawrence yet. I'm sure they will, but we don't know. Right now, again, this is a team that hasn't really done too much crazy stuff that I could think of right now. And I feel like they're really just going to bank on Trevor Lawrence to kind of carry him there. But right now, I think 2-14. I feel like if they had to go at it again, they could win one more game with Gardner Minshew starting. Really sad to see that dude. Last year, first couple of games, he looked really good. I thought he was going to explode onto the scene and lead the Jaguars to victory in a lot of their games. But sad to see the downward spiral that his career has kind of gone in. Next up, we have the Texans. I think they could go 5-11 if they had another swing at it. They've lost Will Fuller, who in my opinion was their main, or not even in my opinion, he was their main offensive weapon last year. You look, even that Thanksgiving game, which was by far their best game, Will Fuller was out there making plays. And I say weapon because obviously Deshaun Watson was by far their best player. And they lost probably their top 3 players were Deshaun Watson, J.J. Watt, Will Fuller. Now J.J. Watt, Will Fuller are out of there. And I think they could go 5-11. And if they lose Deshaun Watson, I feel like this is definitely going to be like a 3-13 rebuild year for the Texans, which is why I could see them not trading him if they want to have any chance of possibly sneaking into like the 7th seed. Next up, we have the Titans, 11-5, haven't done too much. I don't think they should. Let's keep it moving. We have the Steelers, 10-6. They got Juju Smith-Schuster back, and while everyone makes fun of him, calling him Corvette boy, whatever, he was actually a pretty good wide receiver. He was, even on run plays and stuff, you saw him out there being a pretty good blocker, helping with the run. He was just on a pretty good player. They got Big Ben. He got him a new contract, so he's going to be around for at least a couple of years. So I think they could go 10-6. I doubt they'll replicate the success that they had last year. But I think this is still a team that can go 10-6 as of right now. The Ravens 11-5, again, haven't done too much, and I don't think they should. All right, come on. I clicked. I feel like I'm gonna speed it up really fast, but can I? There we go. The Browns showed 4. As you can see there, they got John Johnson. A really good safety. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've been trying to put players that have had the most to do with that team in free agency. And if they haven't done much in free agency, I just put their quarterback. But the Browns, they've had some pretty good signings. They got John Johnson to help with that safety group. They've really been kind of buffing up that defense, and I like that because their offense already has a bunch of studs on it, and now they're going to get that defense up to speed, and I think they can definitely be lethal. 12-4, definitely, and with a pretty young group, the Browns definitely are at a position where they could be set up for 10 years possibly. Not 10 years, like 5-6 years, because obviously some of these players are going to go other places. You can't keep everybody and expect to have a bunch of money. There we go. The Bengals 7-9. They got Riley Reef for that offensive line, but again, haven't done too much. You're going to get Joe Burrow back from injury, and I feel like he's had a year to sit there, and he's not a rookie anymore. He looked really good last year for a rookie. He wasn't like an amazing Patrick Mahomes quarterback. He definitely looked pretty good. It was definitely what the Bengals are hoping he could be. If he continues to improve off of that, and hopefully they can get their offensive line, it could be even better. If they can bump up their offensive line, it could definitely be even better than 7-9. I could see them having a winning record possibly. But right now, and the loss of AJ Green definitely does hurt, but I feel like 7-9 isn't too far out there, and I think it's definitely something that they could achieve, and I think they will if the season started today. The Chiefs 14-2. They got Joe Thuney for that offensive line after, they obviously saw how bad their offensive line was last year. I think 14-2, definitely pretty good. And whether one of those losses is, like it was last year, the last game of the season, whenever they're resting everybody, we'll see. But I think 14-2 is a pretty probable record unless they trade away Patrick Mahomes for a 7th-round pick. The Raiders 7-9, they got Kenyon Drake as their backup, and that's, again, really about it. They gave Marcus Mariota a pay cut. They've lost a couple players, but other than that, really not too much crazy going on over in Las Vegas. I think 7-9. You look at it in the last season, and it was terrible. That Jets game where we saw them have to do a Hail Mary last play to beat the winless Jets. It was just kind of the start of a downward spiral. The Raiders, they're not looking too good. Now, obviously, we still got everything, so they could bump it up, but I'm not sure. The Chargers, they got Jared Cook, but again, this is another team that hasn't done all that much, and that's probably because they look at last year and they what went on? They had a really good team last year. They were playing really well. They just couldn't win. It was really weird. They were playing well. They were staying in it with the Buccaneers. They were staying in it with the Saints. They both of the Bucs and the Saints both had to come back to beat them in the second half. And I think now they've got a new coach, and now they've got again Jared Cook, another weapon for Justin Herbert. Sorry, I forgot his name for a second there. I feel like 9-7 is definitely definitely what I think they'll get if they started right now, and I definitely think that they could sneak into the playoffs as a wild card team. We've got the Broncos at 6-10. They've been bumping up that safety group, but the whole secondary. That defense is definitely going to be pretty lethal. However, that offense, I feel like the only thing the offense had going for it was Phillip Lindsay. I feel like I'm the only Phillip Lindsay fan because Phillip Lindsay is a really, really good running back, and the fact that the Texans, I didn't even mention when talking about the Texans, but the fact that the Texans got him is for as little as they got him for. I think they paid like $4 million for him. I mean, it's just insane how underrated this man is, and they lost their main weapon on offense. And right now, they don't really have all that much on offense to work off of, and I feel like 6-10. They gotta really focus on offense. They've gotten Kyle Fuller. They've gotten a really good defense set up. Now they need to work on offense if they want to have a chance at really letting Drew Lock have a fair chance in the next coming years. Now I get the Washington football team. I think they could go 9-7. They got William Jackson III. Their secondary really needed some help, and that really bumps them up. He's a really good cornerback there. They got Ryan Fitzpatrick, and I don't really. I mean, I guess it makes sense because they do have bigger needs on an offense than a quarterback, and I don't think trading up to a top pick would have been a good move for them. And I still think that. I was going to say I still think that Marcus Mariota is a better option, but I'm not going to go into all that. They got Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's a pretty good quarterback. He's had a pretty good past 2 years on the Dolphins. Before that, though, it was really rough with the Buccaneers and all the 58 other teams he was on. They also got Curtis Samuel, so they've now got a pretty good wide receiver, 2 on there. Curtis Samuel is also a pretty good running threat. We saw last year that Carolina was having him run a lot, so, yeah, let's keep it going. We have the Eagles 3-13. I think they are going to be absolutely horrendous. They got rid of everybody. Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson, Carson Wentz. I'm hearing more and more rumors that Zach Ertz, his time in Philadelphia, is basically up. They were trying to shop him. They wanted to give Carson Wentz and Zach Ertz in a package deal to someone for like 2 first-rounders, which just wasn't going to happen. And now I'm hearing that they're letting Zach Ertz go out and look for trades now. So obviously right now this is with Zach Ertz because he is still on the team. But right now they've got Jalen Hurts is a pretty good quarterback. He had 1 or 2 good games last year, but other than that, he wasn't spectacular. Yeah, the Cowboys 9-7. With the way Zeke looked at the end of last year, he looked like a pretty good running back. Now, that was only a couple games. End of last year, when they started picking up steam at the end of the year last year, Bengals, Giants, Vikings games, those games, they looked pretty good. That was a lot of Zeke. And now they're going to be getting Dak Prescott back. And even at the beginning of last year, they were looking like a pretty good team. And I feel like 9-7. Now, I say pretty good, but really, it's not spectacular, especially that defense and that offensive line are both just horrendous. But Zeke, I don't know. I feel like 9-7 is a pretty good record. The Giants 8-8. I feel like this whole division, other than the Eagles, I feel like the Giants, Washington, and Dallas are on their way up. They're not there yet, and I feel like the Giants, with the way that they've been, they got Kenny Golladay for that offense, and now they've got a really good defense that we saw displayed, especially towards like the middle end of that season last year. And now they got Kenny Golladay. They're giving Daniel Jones all the weapons he needs with Darius Slay, Kenny Golladay. Hopefully, oh man, I forgot. I don't know. They're running back. I completely forgot his name, but he's really good. So hopefully, hopefully for the Giants, they can turn things around, go 8-8, and show they've made improvements. I just don't think that they're ready to bump up too much yet. The Panthers 4-12. It's just not looking good. They lost Curtis Samuel, and really they haven't lost all that much. It's just the fact that they weren't really good in the first place. Last year we saw they started out 3-2. They were looking, they looked pretty good. People were talking about how they were a surprise team. They had won 3 in a row. They were 3-2. It looked like they could win their division, possibly. I don't think anyone was really going that far, but it was definitely not out of the question. The playoffs were definitely looking like it was in their future. In the season, 2-9, 5-11. It's just not looking good. Wouldn't be surprised to see them get a new quarterback either in the draft or maybe making a shot at Deshaun Watson. Although all the drama that's going on with Deshaun Watson is making me think that's not going to happen. But the Panthers, 4-12, I think is a good record for them. Not good, but accurate. The Buccaneers 12-4. They won the Super Bowl last year, but you look at the regular season, they weren't that impressive. They go into the playoffs, their best games are in the playoffs. Divisional round, conference championship, Super Bowl, those are their best games. But you look at a lot of the regular season, especially against the Saints and other games, they looked terrible. Tom Brady showed his age in some of those, and now it was some. It was a tiny bit of them. But I don't think that they are an elite God squad that people are trying to say that they are just because they won the Super Bowl, and they won the Super Bowl by a massive margin against a really good team. I mean, you look, even in the wild card round, I mean, they let the Washington football team stay within one score, which really should have been a blowout. So, I think 12-4. The reason I kept on saying all that is because I do think they're really good, but I don't think they're good enough to go 14-2, 13-3, 15-1 like all these other people are saying. I think 12-4 is where they are right now. They're doing a really good job keeping all their players, but that's about it. Saints 9-7 might be one of the weirdest teams to watch next year because they're cutting everybody. You look at the Saints, the moves that they're making. They re-signed Jameis Winston, cut everybody else. Pay cuts for I think Michael Thomas got a pay cut. Maybe Alvin Kamara. I don't know. I'm pretty sure he got a pay cut. They lost Drew Brees, obviously, so I think this team's going to be a lot different. However, I do think they still be a pretty good team. Jameis Winston definitely, now that he's had a year to sit behind Drew Brees, and, I mean, he was admitting it a couple years back that his accuracy and decision-making was not good. Hopefully, now that he has a year to sit back and, look at all that, maybe he will be a much better quarterback. And he could lead them to better records than this. But right now, I think 9-7 is where they're at. I feel kind of bad for the Saints because, I mean, they're at a position where everybody's leaving, and they've got a low draft pick, and I just feel bad for them. Next up, we have the Falcons, 7-9. I mean, this is a better record than they got last year, and there's a lot of that. Again, this is a team that hasn't done too much in free agency. And the reason I bump them up by 3 games is simply because they had a lot of games last year that they should have won. And I'm not going to sit here and I'm going to say, oh, next year they're going to blow a bunch of leads because I don't know. I just feel like they can go 7-9. I feel like they should have had a better record last year. I feel like definitely if they can get a better offensive line out there, I definitely think that the Falcons could be a much better team. Definitely could go a lot better than 7-9. The 49ers, 10-6. I feel like they get everybody back. Everybody goes out there and plays. Obviously, they're not going to play as well as they played in their Super Bowl year, but if they play, pretty close to that or somewhat near that, they could definitely go 10-6. I feel like a lot of people are saying this. I feel like this isn't too much of a surprise, but yeah. And this is if everybody comes back. I mean, if Jimmy Garoppolo comes, we saw if he comes back and pulls a Carson Wentz and is terrible after an injury, then they could definitely go back to being how they were last year, record-wise. But now we have the Rams 9-7. They got Matthew Stafford. I think this is definitely an upgrade at quarterback. I feel like, and very much a needed one because Jared Goff hasn't had the best past couple of years. I mean, I've been talking about how good the Rams are, and Jared Goff was not really that big of a part of it. Now they've got Matthew Stafford, and Matthew Stafford has a better team around him, and I feel like they could go 9-7. And they can make the playoffs again. Then they have next offseason to build upon that. Because I feel like the Rams are either going to go 2 ways. They're going to take this season, and they're going to go 9-7. Like I'm really convinced that right now they're going to go 9-7. Like I feel like this is a good. I feel like the Rams are going to be kind of like 9-7, 10-6, 8-8 kind of team. They're going to take this season, and then they're going to take the next offseason, and they're going to build upon that, and they're going to become a very formidable foe for years to come. Or they're going to take this season, go 8-8, completely fail next offseason, and be 6-10 for the next 5 years. Really, this year is going to be a very pivotal year for the Rams, and I feel like they can go 9-7, and we'll see what they do next offseason. Next up, we have the Cardinals, 10-6. I mean, they got J.J. Watt. That offense was lethal last year, and I feel like they are definitely prepared to go 10-6 and make the playoffs. Now, J.J. Watt's not all of that. They also, they went 8-8 last year, and I feel like they definitely could have gone 10-6. There were a lot of games that, only needed a couple things to go their way. I feel like they were a lot better team than 8-8. I know towards the end of the season it got a little rocky, but I feel like they were a lot better team than 8-8. Now, definitely they could do it again, but things are starting to slip away from me. I have another monitor open with a lot of the free agency news and stuff, just in case anything crazy happens. And it's one of those websites that has like a video plan, so I'm going to turn my computer away from me, and that won't be as completely. But we have the Seahawks, 11-5. This is with Russell Wilson. I predict that Russell Wilson will stay on the Seahawks. I don't think he's going anywhere. I mean, the Bears offered him 3 firsts, a third, and 2 starters for Russell Wilson, and they didn't give him up. And they're not getting rid of Russell Wilson. They re-signed Chris Carson, not Carson Wentz. And I feel like they're basically the same team this year. I feel like they're trying to keep it the same. They want to have another swing at it, but we've seen. I mean, the Seahawks, they've been 11-5, 12-4, pretty consistently for the past basically for the past decade, really. The 2010s, I think maybe they went 13-3 once or twice. But normally they make it into the playoffs and they don't do much in the playoffs. I feel like this is the year they go 11-5, and I feel like we say it every year, but I feel like this might be the year. Where they start to kind of go downhill and things start getting kind of worse. All their good players, I mean, that defense is completely different than it was 5 years ago. I feel like all their players are getting older, and they've kind of wasted their chance to have a dynasty here. Then we have the Vikings 8-8. Carson Wentz is not Carson. I keep on saying Carson Wentz. I'm sorry because my name is Carson, but Chris Carson, Kirk Cousins. Is making a face that I think all Vikings fans were last year. I don't know what happened. It was a complete and total collapse. The only good thing that really came out of last year was Justin Jefferson playing really well. And yeah, I think the Vikings can go 8-8, middle of the road. The Lions 6-10. Jared Goff wasn't the move, man. I understand you have to get rid of, or you don't have to, but it's a pretty good move to get rid of Matthew Stafford. Could have gotten a lot more than Jared Goff. You could have gotten a low draft pick where you could get, Zach Wilson, I don't know, one of these really good college quarterbacks. You got Jared Goff, which in my opinion is a downgrade. So instead of having a chance to get a better quarterback, a young, great quarterback to add to your offense that is already pretty good, now you got a pretty bad quarterback, in my opinion, who is just going to make your pretty good offense a bit worse. I don't like it. I think 6-10 is the way they go. I think their defense is pretty bad. I mean, they've got some pretty good players like Trey Flowers and stuff on there, but really, I just think 6-10 is the way they go. The Packers, 12-4. They re-signed Aaron Jones, is why he's on there. I do not think. I was talking about how I don't think Russell Wilson is going to get traded. Aaron Rodgers, I would bet every single little bit of money that I have, everything that I have, that Aaron Rodgers is not going to get traded. He is just too big of, a key piece in that offense. He kind of carried them last year, really, and I feel like he can do it again. Yeah, I think 12-4. The Bears, 5-11, probably having the worst offseason of any team this year. You get rid of one of your best defensive players in Kyle Fuller. He goes over to Denver, and then with the money you saved from cutting Kyle Fuller, you sign Andy Dalton. I would rather have Mitch Trubisky. I would rather have Nick Foles starting on my team. And I'm not a Bears fan, I'm saying on my team. Than Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton is awful. He did not have a good game last year. Yeah, he had some pretty okay games. I mean, the Vikings game, I keep on saying it because that was by far the Cowboys' best game. That was definitely his best game. But he didn't really have too many